Welcome to the 168th broadcast of the T-Row Show. This is your host, Keith. I'm going to continue to do the 167 parts, keep going out, part 6-7 with the Law of Nations. I just have some information here that can be very helpful for a lot of people as to what's happening with the coronavirus deal. All right, we've been looking at WHO for quite a while, World Health Organization, and how they're reacting, and they're now trying to claim a world pandemic and all this other kind of crap. And notice that all this stuff is shutting down. All these organizations, all the games, all the activities, and all that kind of crap are all shutting down. How and why is this happening? And who has the authority to do this, or who is claiming to have the authority to do this? That is what my question was. And then I found something interesting that was that hit me. I think it was last night, and decided to do a T-Row show about it and share that information with everyone else. Okay, first of all, we're just going to go in and I'm going to show you the definition of autonomous. Okay, having the right and power of self-government, an autonomous territory, undertaken or carried out without outside control, existing or capable of existing independently. All right, so I'm asking myself, why is this word so important? Okay, and the child, children being taken from their parents and all that is getting really bad. I mean, it's just on whatever the hell they want to do it on. I've got a program just before this one on the T-Row Show website that talks about how a judge is teaching them how to make fraudulent claims. So I thought, well, that's a little bit interesting. So now that we know what autonomous means, what we're going to do is we're going to show you something a little bit different here. Okay, the New York State Office of Children and Family Services is an agency of the New York State government within the Department of Family Assistance. The office has its headquarters in the Capitol View Office Park in Rensselaer. Now everybody's going to say, well, that's on Wikipedia. I've checked it with their laws. It's true. Okay. And if you go and look in Executive Law 500, you'll find that all this is true. But let me be very specific. Within the Department of Family Assistance, right here. Okay, New York State Department of Family Assistance, also known as Department of Family Services, is a department of the New York State government. Its regulations are compiled in Title 18 of New York Codes, Rules and Regulations. All right, good enough, right? No big deal. But why is this office here within this department? And that's called the Office of Children and Family Services, right here. Doesn't make any sense until it starts making sense. Okay, now let's go on down the road here. And they start putting in these divisions and everything else. And here's the Executive Law 500. There is hereby continued in the Department of Family Assistance an autonomous office of Children and Family Services. The head of office shall be the Commissioner of Children and Family Services. Well, that sounds like a communist wrote that, because that's kind of real simple. The Welfare Reform Act of 1997, Chapter 436 of the laws of 1997. Oh, okay. Notwithstanding any inconsistent provision of the law to the contrary, effective April 1st, 1997, the Department of Social Services, as established by Chapter 55 of the Consolidated Laws of blah, 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 is hereby renamed the Department of Family Assistance. Okay, so this was way back in 1997. Now it says within that department there should be the following autonomous offices. Now, why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. So you're hereby rename the Department of Family Assistance. Within the department there shall be the following autonomous offices. One was the Office of Children and Family Services, and that's CPS, by the way, Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance. The head of the Office of Family and Services shall be the Commissioner of Children, and the Family Services of and the head of the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance shall be the Commissioner of Temporary and Disability Assistance. Okay, So it sounds like we just went back to MASH and radar, right? Form this, form that, duplicate, triplicate. All right. So why is it that the Office of Children and Family Services is autonomous? So in case, everybody thinks I'm making stuff up here, you know how we are. We like to go and prove what we're saying. So here it is right here, Section 500, Office of Children and Family Services, Commissioner, Legislation, blah, blah, blah. Notice it doesn't have any title. That was the weird part for me too. Why doesn't it have a title? And why are they calling it executive law? Because apparently the Senate is making executive law or executive departments and stuff of the executive branch. That's what I was looking into. Hope this changes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this share up again because sometimes it doesn't change screens. There is hereby continued in the Department of Family Assistance and Autonomous Office of Children and Family Services. Now, this Children and Family Services is the one that goes after the children. This autonomous office does. I'm sorry, this is a PDF and it's hard to highlight this. Okay, Office of Children and Family Services. Autonomous office. It's all by itself, outside of any controls. Any controls of the Senate, any controls of the governor, any controls of anything. It doesn't even have a title when it was created. It was created autonomously. Okay, so started figuring some other stuff out here. Because this got me thinking, could it be an NGO, right? Or it could have been created by something else, some kind of private membership association, some club, whatever, somebody created. But it's actually not, believe it or not. It is an autonomous, which autonomous is different from a private membership association, which is autonomous. However, it's not created by a Senate. So that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so here we go. When you look in the Code of Federal Regulations, there's an Office of Economic, right over here. There's an Office of Economic Security Policy. The purpose is to initiate, formulate, and coordinate policy and action for countries in Korea, including the economic aspects of the peace treaties, to eliminate the economic war potential of the ex-enemy countries, to settle claims arising from the war, and to establish healthy and independent economies, and to reconstruct and integrate these countries into the economies of Europe and the Far East. Major functions: the office performs the following functions. Coordinates the relationship between the Safe Haven Program on external assets of Division of Economic Security. Controls with the programs of internal assets of the divisions of German and Austrian affairs and Japanese and Korean affairs. Coordinates reparation policy in Germany and Japan. Contacts foreign missions in this country on economic interest of their nationals and the occupied countries. Coordinates and administrates functions within the component divisions and performs administrative functions for the safe haven missions. And it goes on, you can read it. It goes on and on about all the basic crap that it does. Okay, then we looked around, and here is a Arizona Department of Economic Security. Now, the other states have it, but this is just the one that came up. Close that down, which is the Arizona of Economic Security. Now, Department of Economic Security. So, food assistance, medical assistance, homelessness, domestic violence, utility assistance, refugee settlement, basic needs, child and family, employment, employers, aging, and adult disabilities. Okay. Now, who funds this? Well, obviously, the Federal Reserve, Bank of New York Mellon, and it was not U.S. Treasury because U.S. Treasury sells bonds for both, so they don't really do shit. As far as what do you call it? Funding anything, and then it goes from Federal Reserve, Bank of New York Mellon, International Monetary Fund. Okay, so. And once you get to the International Monetary Fund, now we're operating in the international realm, and now we got to go to the United Nations. So look at what we found, okay? And then I'll give you the synopsis of what's happening here, and you guys have no problem figuring out what is really happening here. Okay. So I started looking up agencies because agencies always bothered me. I don't know about anybody else. When I see agencies, I'm thinking, the hell is that? Okay, we have departments, branches. The hell's an agency? I couldn't figure that out. And it doesn't make any sense. And I just, put this up here because this dude's smile scares the crap out of me. I don't know what's up with him. Just a side note. Man, dude, work on your smile, man. You're scaring the crap out of people. Reminded me of the Arnold Schwarzenegger smile with, when he was a machine in that movie. I can't remember which one it was, but that's what he looks like. Is that some scary shit? All right. There's 100 agencies in here, and it all talks about travel, transit, info, traffic, park agencies, budget offices, crap like this, right? This is all in New York. And the comptroller currency, this scary ass dude right here is in charge of a lot of this stuff. So here we go. When we're looking at this, let me go ahead and show you. These agencies always bother me and always bothered anybody else. But since most of them, if not all of them, are autonomous, this is a good way to share as to exactly what's going on. Think about it. Okay, the Security Council is a little bit separate from UN. You don't necessarily have to be a part of the United Nations to be a part of the Security Council. There's 15 countries on it right now, but this is a weird statement. Security Council must strike blow against states violating child rights. What do you mean? How do they do that, and how do they get jurisdiction? Oh, I don't know. The Senate creates autonomous organizations within departments, and they're directly under the control of the Security Council of the United Nations. And when they're all of a sudden everybody's shutting everything down, who's involved in this with the coronavirus? Well, the WHO, which is World Health Organization. And who do they work for? And who are they under? The Security Council of the United Nations. So notice they're not saying anything about the Security Council. They're talking about the World Health Organization. But these orders are coming from the Security Council of the United Nations, which are 15 member states right now. And they're controlling these little family autonomous organizations like CPS and stuff like that. And we found some other things that we haven't been able to verify yet, that they're a part of some of a very large church, a Baptist church that has 47,000 churches around the world. And I think this same church, I'm not going to name their name just yet, okay, but I'm going to tell you, because I'll give you an idea, you can go look it up yourself, have complained about the Jesuits being involved with their church. So what I'm guessing here is this. This is just a guess. When I'm sure, I'm going to tell you. When I'm guessing, I'm going to tell you something, a hunch, okay? And I kind of like my hunches. That the Catholic Church has been infiltrated the Baptist Church, the particular one that has 47,000 churches around the world. They've even said we'd wish the Templars would go away. So my guess is this: somebody has claimed that the Baptist Church is connected to some of these CPS things. I haven't seen any evidence of that. I have seen evidence that they're autonomous organizations, especially in New York. And it's usually not coming from the state legislatures; it's coming from the senates of those states, which nobody looks at. Nobody even watches those guys. They're always watching what's going on in the legislature. Nobody pays attention to what's going on in the state and the Senate. Ever do they ever do that? And have you ever noticed that they never ever mention the Security Council of the UN? Okay, so when you're seeing everything shut down like they're doing, they're saying the CDC is doing it. They're not doing it at all. It's the Security Council of the United Nations that's doing it. And that, my friends, is how the UN got into the country, by basically hiding it under a basic department within the state, just like you have a traffic court. Traffic court's probably an autonomous organization. working directly for the United Nations and world communism. And they're using this this type of BS with this coronavirus thing, calling it dangerous. And why uh, Alex Jones is pumping it, I have no idea why he's pumping the fear, other than he's a part of it. And but it really shows that the autonomous organizations are definitely directed by someone. And if they're connected, and I believe they are connected to the economic security offices around the country, there's your bankers. That could also be, Bank of New York Mellon. There's your bankers. Could be other banks also, stock market, stuff like that. And they're connected to the autonomous organizations funded by the bankers. And they also use the Security Council, the 15 countries around the world that are members of the Security Council, to run everything the way they want it. So notice that they're stopping all events and everything, just everything. Oh, this is the most deadly virus in the world. When just yesterday they had news that it was subsiding, wasn't spreading anymore, and people were coming out of hospitals free and clear and good to go. And last year, influenza killed, I think it was 27,000 people, a whole lot more than this coronavirus has done. So this is being used, I think, as a test run to see how much control the Security Council has around the world and within these autonomous organizations that are within departments of each state. Stop looking at the legislature and stop looking at the statutes. Start looking at the executive laws in the Senate, and you'll figure out a lot of things that is being shown here today. However, when you look at this, Security Council must strike blow against states violating child rights. How did they get in? This was in 2009, by the way. How did they get into the countries? How are they going to strike that blow? Unless they have their own agencies within each country, directly under the control and protection of the United Nations Security Council, an autonomous organization within a department of a state, created by the Senate, that's funded by the banks. Thanks for listening to the 168th broadcast of the T. Rose Show. Spread this around, folks.